Okay, we're gonna start in a minute. Let me just set things up here and then we will go on. I'm going to be opening up the next box of my comic books, and we'll go through that process in a minute. You might be seeing this again, but this is the BCW Protect Store and Display box. This one's been collecting a little bit of dust because it sits in the bottom of my closet. But it's quite durable. I think I may have done something on the inside, but this is what the underside looks like. It provides a little bit of space between the floor, so in case there's a flood or something, but it's not waterproofed. So I will say that water can still seep through the corners and the sides, but I think it will provide some degree of protection if there's a seepage or leakage around the floor, because the surface on the inside is elevated but maybe just an inch or so. So anyways, let's just go through it and I'll show you the pack of items that we have in here. Let's just unclip that, and then I'm going to, there we go. So the hinges do sort of roll like that, which is fine. The ride is okay, but what we'll do today is let's see if I can get through some of the manga stuff here, because I do have a little bit of mangas. Not a very big collection, but just some stuff. So let's see what we have over here. Let's start off with this one. Okay. Now these books are not very, excuse me, I'm coughing. These books are not very widely available because they're basically the English version of Saint Seiya. So the earlier volumes are not as easily available. This, I think, just somehow I managed to find it on Amazon. And I don't think you'll be able to find book one or the ones in between. But if you folks are interested in some classic anime, this one was released I think in the late 70s or early 80s, but it's pretty good. It's got a lot of lore in it, and the art style is typical of that time, but it's good for what it is. Of course, they did turn this into an anime as well, which was thoroughly enjoyable. Especially the soundtrack was very good. But I only have 2 volumes of these, so prior to show you, that was volume 2 and this is volume 11, so it really jumps ahead. What is this? Yeah, the Gold Saints. They are now facing the Gold Saints. But this is actually pretty interesting. Very detailed artwork. All right, look, you can see that this artist, a lot of black ink is used. Look at that. That's like, well, that's a butt shot, but anyways, but some very nice detail. Well, oh yeah, this is what I meant by detail. Look, this is how he's actually illustrated the dragon. So all the scales and the shadows, and that's a lot of penciling and inking, even though it's black and white. But Saint Seiya, very good one. I don't think these are widely available, so if you know where I can, Mr. K, nice to have you on my channel. If anyone of you know where I can find more of the English version of Saint Seiya Knights of the Zodiac, especially the earlier editions, please do let me know, because I could not find them on Amazon. Maybe eBay would be one place to look at. All right, what do we have over here? We have Urusei Yatsura. This is actually a pretty cool book. Very slapstick. Yes, this is manga. Very slapstick, sort of short stories, comedies. This was some of the earlier shows that I had seen. The book I only got recently, but this is quite funny. The characters are just some school kids, and this alien character, which is this girl right over here. In I think in Japanese her name is Loom, in French her name is Lamu, but it is pretty good. So I've actually got several editions of this book. So this is book. Let's see what we have. This is book 1. So this would be the first one. Let's see, what else do I have? I have book 7 as well. All right. So short stories, they don't, it's not necessarily continuity, but there are some references to previous storylines somewhere or the other. But overall, casual stories, casual. By the way, if you didn't know, while the anime series did come out way back, I think in the 80s or something, there is a new version of this currently out, and is it on Netflix? I'm not sure. No, maybe not. Maybe on Crunchyroll, you'll find the new version. So I think it was released a year or 2 years ago. That is available out there with some updated, graphics and illustrations and so on and so forth. This is book 4. Okay. This is kind of so just for some fun read, but the stories are like a lot of stories. And I think there are lots of editions out there. So if you're going to be spending, let's see how much it was. Yeah, if you're going to be spending $20 a book, that's a fair amount of money. But I think it's worth it. They're pretty nice. Yeah, I would suggest they're worth it. Okay, this is Fist of the North Star. Again, a very old school sort of an manga. There was a show on this. There were actually several iterations of this show. There was even a anime movie OVA that came out on this, and for those who don't know, there was actually a Hollywood interpretation of this as well in the form of a movie. It came out, I think, in the 90s. I don't think, well, there were a few known actors in there, but the main guy was, I don't think he's a known actor, but the story was. This is kind of nice. It's super violent, by the way, but the illustrations are kind of fun. It's sort of a post-apocalyptic era where thugs and gangs are basically ruling, and people are mostly just victims. And there's lots of tough characters and people fighting for power and ultimate glory or whatever you call it. But it is super violent. If you like that sort of stuff, then the Fist of the North Star would be the way to go. I think I have 8 to 9 volumes of this. They're not here with me right now, but you'd be spending $20 on this book. $20. So is it worth it? I think if you like reading these books and if you want to make a collection, the hardcovers do make a nice display, by the way, because there's a little bit of a illustration on the side over there. So if you've got this standing on a shelf, it will look kind of nice, actually. So this one is a pretty good one. All right, now as you know how these books, oh wait, I do have something else over here. Oh wait, these are the Saint Seiya DVDs. All right, yeah, by the way, this is the French version, and the Saint Seiya DVDs, it's in, like I said, it's in French, but this is the Asgard saga and the Poseidon saga. Really good, enjoyable. You should be able to find this on Crunchyroll, but not the French version. The French version you're gonna have to buy on Amazon. If you're living here in the United States, I will warn you that you playing French DVDs is a challenge. The DVD players will not play them. You might not even be able to play them on your Xbox or your PS4s or whatever. You can play them in some laptops that have CD players in them, but you might have to install softwares because the format of these, they're kind of secured as well. So it kind of prompts you to either update your software or reveal your location, and when you do, you might not have access to these French versions. So just letting you know, I mean, I always wanted to have the French version, and I've sort of broken through, but it's not so easy playing them on a local drive. It will be a problem. So I mean, I'm just letting you know in case you decide that you want to watch Saint Seiya, a French version. just know that those are the challenges that you will be facing. All right, I'm not a big collector of manga. Just these are just a few, so I'm able to just fit them in my little BCW comic book storage box. So let me just put this back over here, and then I'll get straight to the actual books in this box, and that's really Catwoman. So this box I kind of sort of just kind of dedicated to Catwoman. I do have some old books, and I don't buy. If you've been following any of my other videos, you know that I actually no longer buy any of the mainstream DC stuff. I just got over it. It's no longer fun. But these were some old issues that I had, and right, and I wanted to fill in some of the gaps. So I do have a sort of a collection of these Catwoman books. This one is from early 90s, 1994, with I think Jim Ballant is the artist in this one. He has a certain style. I mean, he likes to make his women in a certain way. Whatever your opinion might be on that, but I think some of his earlier work was better some than of his later work. His later work, I think, started becoming a little lazy. Which is, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you kind of, I guess, they just get tired of drawing over. But anyways, earlier editions of Catwoman, these stories are all right. I wouldn't say they're fantastic. But this guy makes really nice covers. That much I will give him. And the colors at that time, I think I like this costume of Catwoman. The full bodysuit with the long boots and the long arm gloves. Why don't I see a tail? Oh, maybe she didn't. She no longer has a tail. Okay, not in this one. She uses a whip. Okay, she uses a whip. But the Jim Balance stuff was pretty good. This is an alternate, a variant cover for, I think, a newer book, Catwoman number 10. Not that fascinated by it, to be honest. Here's another variant cover. This is Catwoman 11. Right, they went for a little bit hyper realistic with some of their variant covers. They were kind of nice, but it's all just maybe a little bit of aesthetics, I would say. With this, I don't buy these anymore because the stories generally were no longer very interesting. This was the time when I was actually subscribing to some of these Catwoman books. And for a female character, I thought she was a pretty good character, at least maybe earlier on, because later I think I was not really particularly impressed with the direction they were going. And I think this was also around the time when Batman and Catwoman, I think they were engaged or they were about to get married, and then something, maybe they broke off their relationship. I think it was probably Catwoman who backed out. But this is the year of the villain. Pretty interesting covers for what they are. Catwoman is changing her suit here as well. I was not particularly impressed with this suit, to be honest. But the covers are nice, sure. But the question is, here's the main thing. If you're gonna be paying $4 for Catwoman books, I understand $4 you can do if you're spending like $6, $7, $8 per month to get a streaming service. Do you want to spend $4 or $5 on a comic book? In this case, probably not, because the stories are not particularly interesting. Things are happening. I was skipping through them. Look, that's just me. There might be people out there who really, really do enjoy it, and that's great. I'm not trying to influence that decision, but I would just want to share that I thought at least the stories were not very impressive. The covers look great though, but the stories perhaps not. So I probably would not be a big proponent of saying that, yeah, you should go ahead and buy this book. This storyline was kind of not bad. There was this guy, he was like a religious sort of a guy who was out to kill bad people, and specifically he was hunting Catwoman. So I suppose there was a sort of a spookiness to that, which was kind of nice, but I don't think it really went far. So I went through this storyline. It was okay, and then Catwoman has her sort of her followers in the streets who sort of help her out. So I suppose it was an interesting concept, but what can I say? Not that great. So with Catwoman, ultimately, I did stop subscribing. I only subscribed for maybe 2 years or so, and then I stopped. It was just not particularly interesting. Yeah. And you have a few moments here where Batman would appear as well. This was very much the time where she had broken up with him. For those who don't know, she was engaged to Bruce Wayne for a small period of time, and then I believe she broke it off. I actually forgot. So if you know, then you're more than welcome to correct me on it. But it was not. And then you had this thing with Harley Quinn and what's her name, Poison Ivy, which was not that impressive in my view. Okay, I think this was a period in which there was a new team taking on Catwoman. This was kind of silly. I mean, she's literally like a, sorry about the glare, but she's literally a pole dancer with massive heels. Really? Okay. Again, the covers were kind of nice. I don't know. I think this artist has a sort of a fetish with leather or something. Yeah. I think they were really trying to sexualize Catwoman at this time. Have they not before? Well, sure, but this one was, I guess, a little different. At this point in time, I would say Catwoman was pretty boring. So I was really just dragging through these books, and then ultimately I was like, you know what? Forget this crap. I ain't interested no more. The only credit I would give is for the covers. Then they introduced Punchline around this time. She was a new character. But I'm glad that I stopped subscribing, because really it was just... I might actually just give these books away. Just letting you know. I might actually just give these books away. At this point, there was another person who was acting as Catwoman. And... Gee, sorry about the glare. But that's that. Yeah, I don't really have much to comment on Catwoman. I thought earlier on she had a nice title, and then things changed with the creative teams. So there's that. So I think this era, the early 90s era, was still kind of nice for Catwoman. She had a cool looking costume, big hair, curly hair, so that was kind of cool. But afterwards, it was not that impressive. This guy used to make, give him this much, he did make really nice covers though. And the way he drew his cats, with the little green eyes, that was kind of nice actually, I will say that much. But then, every artist has their moment. So I think later, as Jim Ballan continued his work, I think he was just not so impressive. I do think that Jim Ballan then eventually went to create his own titles. They were probably a little bit, what's the word? Do I want to say trashy sort of comics? But yeah, so not much to share with Catwoman, and certainly not a recommendation. If you really excuse me, if you really want to go back to some of the earlier books of Catwoman, if you have a recommendation for a storyline, sure, let me know. But other than that, I would not say much about Catwoman over there. But what I want to do next time is I want to take you through some specific storylines which I thought were really nicely written and very nicely illustrated. It's not going to be Catwoman. It's going to be potentially some X-Men. I'll see if there's something on Batman that I can share, and we'll go through some of those, and I'll let you know my thoughts. Here's the thing. Ultimately, if you're buying a maxi series, which is going to be around 12 issues, and if you're going to be spending $2 or maybe nowadays $4 or $5, that's $50-$60 on a title. $50-$60 is a lot of money to put on comic books. Is it worth it? That's the question, and that's the one that I'm going to attempt to answer for you, and that would be really just based on my opinions. Everyone will have their own preferences and tastes, and that's fine. Not everyone might be sharing their opinions, and that's what I will be doing, sharing my opinion. So guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Until then, have a good one.